Hollywood is often portrayed as a perfect dream. The dazzling stage lights, the glamorous red carpet, the shining stars, all these things lead the world to believe that fame lasts forever. But behind that glitz and glamour lies a dark side that not everyone sees. In Hollywood, just one wrong moment, a scandal erupts, or a hidden power turns against you, and a career can collapse faster than you imagine. In this video, we will unveil 30 of the most shocking stories of actors who once stood at the pinnacle of fame, dominated the box office, and were celebrated worldwide, only to be coldly cast aside by Hollywood itself. From legends of the golden age, promising young stars, to rebels who dared to challenge the system, or victims of prejudice and personal tragedy, they all have one thing in common. They once reached the top, just before being erased from the world they helped create. And don't look away until the end of the video, because the last name on this list will make you ask, does Hollywood really ever forgive anyone? Sean Young. In the 1980s, Sean Young seemed destined to become a major star. As Rachel, the mysterious android in Blade Runner, she delivered one of the most iconic performances in science fiction history. Her cool beauty, distinctive charm, and simmering emotional intensity made Sean Young irreplaceable. Hollywood quickly positioned her as the next leading actress, a face that was intelligent, seductive, and dangerous in its own unique way. But her refusal to be silent became the beginning of her downfall. Sean Young was outspoken, willing to challenge directors, and unafraid to demand roles she believed she deserved. Most famously, she campaigned relentlessly for the role of Catwoman in Batman Returns, an ambition she believed perfectly suited to her. She even showed up at Warner Brothers in her Catwoman costume, head to toe, to prove she was born for the role. But instead of admiration, she received ridicule. The media began labeling her as eccentric and unpredictable. Executives whispered that she was unstable, that she was a risk on set. And then, almost without explanation, doors began to slam shut. Big-budget projects disappeared. Central roles were no longer offered. Instead, there were smaller films, insignificant supporting roles. A far cry from the trajectory Hollywood had promised. To the public, Sean Young will forever be Rachel from Blade Runner. But to Hollywood, she became a name to avoid. Her story remains a chilling cautionary tale. In Hollywood, talent alone is not enough when the industry decides your ambitions have exceeded acceptable limits. Tippi Hedren. In the early 1960s, Tippi Hedren was on the verge of a glorious career. Discovered by Alfred Hitchcock in a television commercial, she was quickly cast in the lead role in The Birds, and then in Marnie, two films that established her as the legendary director's newest muse. Her cool beauty, elegant demeanor, and sharp gaze reminded Hedren of Grace Kelly, another of Hitchcock's muses, whom he had elevated to iconic status. At one point, Tippi Hedren was just one step away from the pinnacle of fame, but that fame came with a heavy price. Behind the camera, Hitchcock's admiration gradually turned into obsession. Hedren later revealed that she endured years of harassment, control, and mental manipulation. When she rejected his advances, his favor quickly turned into punishment. Hitchcock didn't use his immense power to elevate Hedren, but to destroy her. He ensured she would never again be given equally significant roles. The doors that had once been wide open suddenly slammed shut. Although Tippi Hedren continued acting, opportunities worthy of her talent and status were quietly taken away. Hollywood, silent in the face of her plight, continued to operate as if nothing had happened. A brilliant career that should have been etched in film history was cut short by the cruelty of a powerful man and an industry unwilling to protect the vulnerable. Today, Tippi Hedren's story is more than just a personal tragedy. It is a chilling reminder that the abuse of power can obliterate even the brightest prospects if the entire system chooses to remain silent. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's career skyrocketed from his early days on Disney Channel with Even Stevens. From a beloved child star, he quickly transitioned to the blockbuster world, becoming the central figure in Michael Bay's Transformers franchise. By his mid-20s, LaBeouf had worked with big names like Steven Spielberg and Oliver Stone, building a rare reputation. both a box office star and a serious actor. Charming, unpredictable, and ambitious, he was touted as the face of Hollywood's future. But the very unpredictability that made him so appealing on screen began to fracture his real-life personas. LaBeouf became increasingly associated with impulsive public behavior. Bar fights, public drunken arrests, and controversial appearances such as wearing paper bags on his head at movie premieres. More disturbingly, in the years that followed, he faced abuse allegations from former romantic partners, allegations that replaced his rebellious artist image with a more serious concern. The consequences were swift. Major studios distanced themselves. Many collaborators cut ties. The actor, once a mainstay of blockbuster franchises, was pushed to the sidelines, appearing mostly in small-scale independent projects. His talent was still acknowledged, but the weight of the controversies made it impossible for mainstream Hollywood to ignore. Shia LaBeouf's downfall wasn't a single scandal, but a long series of self-destructive behaviors. His story is a chilling reminder that in Hollywood, excellence and chaos often go hand in hand. But ultimately, chaos always prevails. Katherine Heigl. In the mid-2000s, Katherine Heigl was at the height of her Hollywood power. Her role as Dr. Izzy Stevens in Grey's Anatomy earned her an Emmy and made her a beloved face on one of America's most popular television series. The transition to film was almost perfect. Knocked Up became a box office hit, and overnight, Heigl was seen as the ideal leading lady for the wave of romantic comedies dominating Hollywood. Studios lined up to cast her in leading roles. Her career seemed to have no end. Then Heigl did something very few actors, especially female actors, dared to do at that time. She spoke her mind. In interviews, Heigl publicly criticized Knocked Up for its portrayal of women, which she considered disrespectful. Not long after, she withdrew her name from the Emmy nominations list, was declaring that the script for that season of Grey's Anatomy wasn't good enough to deserve the honor. Statements that might have been considered honest in another industry were perceived as arrogance and ingratitude in Hollywood. The reaction was swift and cold. Producers began labeling her difficult to work with. Rumors spread. In just a few years, major roles disappeared. Studios that had once seen her as a box office guarantee quietly turned their backs. Katherine Heigl's once seemingly unshakable career stalled dramatically. She continues to act to this day, but the central position she once held has never returned. Katherine Heigl's story is a stark warning. In Hollywood, speaking out against the system often costs you your career, no matter how talented or successful you are. Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington's career reached its peak when he took on the role of Dr. Preston Burke in Grey's Anatomy. With his strong on-screen presence and nuanced acting, he quickly became one of the show's central characters. Audiences embraced him as an indispensable pillar of the cast. After years of hard work, Hollywood seemed finally ready to give Washington the recognition he deserved. But that moment didn't last. In 2006, a behind-the-scenes incident unexpectedly erupted. Reports indicated Washington had used homophobic language during an on-set argument. The story quickly spread through the media, becoming the focus of intense controversy. Despite Washington's public apology and attempts at explanation, the wave of criticism did not subside. A year later, ABC decided to terminate his contract with Grey's Anatomy. The consequences were almost immediate. Offers for major projects gradually disappeared. Film studios became wary, viewing him as an image risk. Hollywood, in an effort to protect its brand and public sensitivities, quickly turned its back on him. Isaiah Washington didn't disappear completely from acting, but he never regained the status he once held. From an actor lauded for his talent, he became a prime example of the harsh realities of the entertainment industry, where a single misstep, however regrettable, is enough to end a career at its peak. Brendan Fraser. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Brendan Fraser was everywhere. He swung through the jungle in George of the Jungle, confronted cursed mummies in the Mummy trilogy, and simultaneously proved his serious acting abilities in films like Gods and Monsters. With a rare combination of natural humor, adventurous spirit, and a warm, down-to-earth personality, Fraser became the kind of male lead audiences easily adored. Hollywood positioned him as both an action star and a relatable, friendly figure, a seemingly foolproof formula. Then suddenly, without a clear explanation, Brendan Fraser disappeared. For years, fans wondered how an actor at the peak of his career could vanish from Hollywood so quickly. The answer was only revealed years later, and it was darker than any speculation. Fraser revealed that in the early 2000s, he was sexually assaulted by a powerful entertainment executive. After speaking out, he received not protection, but a cold silence. Offers faded. Calls stopped coming. The once box office star was quietly removed from major projects, as if he never existed. At the same time, the price of years dedicated to action films began to show. Fraser had performed too many stunts himself. His body was worn down, and he underwent a series of surgeries. While he struggled with physical pain and depression, the media mocked his changed appearance, turning personal suffering into public amusement. The combination of mental trauma, Hollywood's subtle retaliation, and physical decline pushed Brendan Fraser into a period of exile he never chose. Therefore, his return to acting in The Whale and his 2023 Oscar win was more than just a career revival. It was a moment of belated justice. But the years of silence stolen from his life remain a haunting reminder. In Hollywood, daring to speak the truth sometimes costs an entire career. Amber Heard. At one point, Amber Heard seemed destined to rise to the ranks of Hollywood's A-list stars. With her standout roles in The Rum Diary and especially Aquaman, she combined her captivating looks with an aura that showed she was more than just a decorative supporting actress. Hollywood saw in Heard the potential of a long-term star. Her marriage to Johnny Depp further boosted her fame. Heard became a familiar face on the red carpet, magazine covers, and in entertainment news. To the outside public, she seemed on the verge of a stable career and power in the film industry. But in 2016, things took a completely different turn. Amber Heard filed for divorce and accused Depp of domestic violence. What followed was not just a breakup, but a years-long legal battle that escalated and eventually exploded into one of the most publicly watched and widely followed celebrity lawsuits in modern history. When the defamation case went to trial in 2022, it transcended the boundaries of a courtroom. Live streams drew millions of viewers. Social media turned every testimony into a meme, every expression into a weapon. The public was divided into factions with almost ritualistic fervor. Although Heard won part of the counterclaim, public opinion strongly sided against her. She became the target of intense online criticism. Petitions demanding her removal from film projects spread widely. In this context, Hollywood, which has always prioritized commercial safety, began to back down. Her roles narrowed, new offers became rare. And the industry that once readily bet on her image now viewed her as a risk. When Amber Heard left the United States and moved to Spain, it felt more like exile than a new beginning. Her decline was rare in scale and speed. Few cases have seen an actress's personal life completely overshadow her career in this way. Today, Amber Heard remains a controversial figure, not because of the roles she played, but because of the story Hollywood didn't want to continue. In an industry where image dictates everything, she became a name many studios considered too heavy to risk. Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer's rise once resembled a modern-day Hollywood fairy tale. Tall, handsome, and possessing the demeanor of a classic star, he gained attention for his role as the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network, a performance showcasing both charisma and versatility in front of the camera. By 2017, when Hammer starred alongside Timothée Chalamet in Call Me by Your Name, critics began calling him a true leading man. The film was widely praised, and Hammer seemed to have officially entered the ranks of faces capable of carrying major projects for years to come. Hollywood saw in him the image of a long-lasting star, elegant, intelligent, and reliable. But in 2021, it all collapsed almost in the blink of an eye. Leaked private messages, allegedly belonging to Hammer, spread rapidly on social media. The content, containing violent sexual elements and shocking fantasies, sparked a wave of intense outrage. Following this, numerous women came forward accusing him of manipulation and abuse in their personal relationships. Hammer denied all wrongdoing, and no legal conclusion led to a criminal conviction. However, in an era where public reaction precedes court rulings, the film industry acted almost immediately. Projects were canceled, roles were replaced, Hammer was removed from films, television shows, and even a scheduled Broadway play. In just weeks, an actor once considered the future of Hollywood became a name absent from any major projects. Armie Hammer's downfall was not only swift, but also comprehensive. His public image was completely redefined. A name once synonymous with sophistication and romance has now become a symbol of one of the most shocking scandals of the decade. Hammer's story is a stark reminder of the fragility of reputation in the digital age. When social media becomes an instant court of law, a single controversy, even if not fully resolved, can wipe out years of career building. For Armie Hammer, his exile from Hollywood seems complete. And to this day, the industry that once welcomed him as a rising star shows no sign of reopening its doors. Will Smith. For over 3 decades, Will Smith has been Hollywood's golden boy. From The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to blockbusters like Independence Day, Men in Black, and I Am Legend, he has built a rare career, both commercially successful and beloved globally. Smith possesses what Hollywood craves most, the ability to connect with every generation of audiences. He can be funny, charming, powerful, and, when needed, deep enough to touch serious emotions. For years, he has been virtually scandal-free. His image is one of stability, a big star, but a safe one. By 2022, when he won an Oscar for King Richard, Will Smith seemed to have completed a perfect journey, a career that Hollywood rarely allows to exist so fully. And then that moment happened. On March 27, 2022, during a live broadcast of the Academy Awards before millions of viewers worldwide, Will Smith walked onto the stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock in the face. The entire auditorium fell silent. The whole world witnessed it. In just seconds, an image built up over more than 30 years crumbled. That same night, Smith still went up to receive his Oscar. But that victory was forever overshadowed by a moment no one could ever forget. The consequences were immediate. Smith resigned from the Academy, received a 10-year Oscar ban, and many film projects were suspended or canceled. Public opinion was deeply divided. Some saw him as a man acting on emotion to protect his wife. Others saw it as proof that no one, not even the biggest icon, is above the norm. Will Smith's exile was shocking not because it revealed behind-the-scenes secrets or a long-standing scandal, but because it happened publicly, instantly, and undeniably. There was no room for interpretation. There was no time to control the narrative. Only a moment, and the consequences lasted for years. Will Smith's story poses a haunting question. Can Hollywood forgive a mistake that shattered its most sacred stage? So, out of all these names, who truly deserves a chance at redemption? And the last name on the list surprises you? Hollywood always talks about second chances, but not everyone gets one. If you want to continue exploring the stories buried in the shadows of the entertainment industry, don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel.